Hey, folks, welcome to another House Coat Chat. Your host, Justice Truth, the dude in the house coat. Yes, folks, all I can say is the world is crazy, and here we are on a Monday, January 19th, just after 2:30ish, close to. Anyways, folks, hello, welcome, positive vibes and all that. As you know, the scone is lit. And yes, today it'll be lit for a very special person in my life who I've not really been, how do I put it? She is a cousin on my wife's side, so to speak. And sadly, being a quadriplegic through a accident in her own home, being very sick, she fell, hit her head, broke her neck, sadly. Amazing artist. Anyways, I'd just like to give a shout out to her, positive vibes, and I'm thinking of her, even though she may never see this message directly from me. It is A-OK. I am sending my vibes and my energy because, well, like I said, she is a wonderful lady, an amazing artist. I really don't have anything to show off of her artwork down here. I thought about doing that before the live show, many things on my mind, and maybe perhaps the next episode I will show off some of her talents. I am sad to say that she is moving on to the afterlife. Quadriplegic, so to speak, don't live a very long life. Sad to hear and everything else like that. But mind you, folks, this is just for Shauna. Anyways, she is a lovely lady, and I do believe her brother is going down to, send her off, so to speak. Kind of sad. Anyways, yeah, just wanted to give a thing out to say that the scone is lit for a person who may not be here soon because she is a wonderful lady. I've enjoyed my interactions with her. She is the first person I met in Prince George upon arriving up here to see Danica, a woman who I guess I chased because I came all the way up here. So, yes, she is the first person I ever met in Prince George, British Columbia. And yes, I hope it is peaceful for her. I guess it might be. Enough of that. All I want to say is that I am just letting you know that today this scone for me is lit for Shauna and her stuff, her husband. It's all that as well, and her brother Richard and all her family there. I do believe they're the Richard will be the only one left in his so-called immediate little family. Mother and all his siblings are going to be passed off soon. So shout out to Richard. A big hug for you, my friend, and stuff. Other than that, folks, let's just get right to it. Carney, eh? Oh, love the man, love the man. The greatest salesman we've never had in Canada. My God, I mean, people, we are now into the mouth of the dragon with the CCP party. If you are not too concerned, I think you should be. But other than that, I encourage you to watch a channel on YouTube, like I do, called China Uncensored or the China Observer. There's plenty out there, but I like Chris Chappell and the China Uncensored channel. Anyways, yes, we are entering the mouth of the dragon when Carney whispered those words, New World Order. To the Chinese government, folks, the Chinese Communist Party, who basically kept two Canadians, falsely accusing them of espionage for a long time because we, on the behest of the American government back in the day, arrested that Huawei lady. Remember that whole shenanigan and stuff like that started off all the tariffs from China against us, which the CBC, CTV, Global News, and a whole host of other mainstream medias and our boomer population doesn't even realize. Yes, folks, it is atrocious how China has basically treated us as Canadians versus Donald Trump, Orange Man, bad. Remember when he said he wanted to start talking about trade when he first got in, and Canada said we're going to apply a reciprocal tariff on Kuzma goods, which is pretty much illegal. The Americans kind of let that slide a bit. But remember, folks, the real negotiation for Kuzma, our North American free trade agreement with Mexico, is coming up very, very soon. And yes, I do agree that Canada should be diversing its trade from the Americans and all that stuff because, well, we've just been exposed harshly by our inadequacy all across the world. And I will lay some blame on Justin Trudeau for that because, my God, Japan has come, the Europeans have come, a whole host of countries have come and said, we would like some natural gas from you. And Trudeau turned them down. Well, guess what, folks? Qatar, who, and I'm going to get that a little bit later, but has signed an agreement to sell gas to the European Union. We could have, yes, we could have, folks. Qatar is already rich and glorious as a nation. Meanwhile, Canada is going down harder than the Hudson Bay Company, Sears Company, and all the other great Canadian iconic institutions. Canada is slowly imploding. If you can't see that, my God. 25% of our population now is way out of control as foreign-born, so to speak, immigration. 25%, folks. That is a huge swath of people. And these people are not the greatest in a way. And I will say that because crime has risen over the years since we have allowed the mass immigration, lowering of IQ, lowering of medical costs per person that's a refugee to come into Canada, allowing a birthing industry to come into Canada that allows foreign-born people, foreign people who are about to have birth, basically, come to Canada and have a spot, and I mean it, a spot reserved for them in our hospital. Guaranteed, so-called, from the company that's advertising online for birth tourism in Canada. Yes, you heard that, folks. We're allowing foreign-born people who are pregnant to come into Canada to give birth in our overcrowded, underfunded healthcare system. You know, in the UK, this is a side note, but I got confirmation from this. If you are a Muslim in the UK, you get preferential treatment over everybody else in the UK. Go look that up. I got that from a lady friend who has a friend in England, and she stated this. I have dabbled down the rabbit hole. Yes, this is what I can kind of consider to be truthful. I am on it because, wow, that's a bit of a shocker. But yeah, this is somebody from England and all that. So let's get Carney, though, because that's where we're at, folks. Yes, Carney went to China, uttered the words New World Order. Scott Moe, the Premier of Saskatchewan, looked stunned and stopped smiling when he heard Carney say those words. And why did the CBC and all the major players not actually play the whole speech that Carney said? And they never included the New World Order phrase. Remember, Justin Trudeau has said Canada is a post-national state. They're trying to drive us away from the idea that Canada as a nation, as an identity, and all that kind of stuff is nothing. We are now a post-national state, and we should accept all these people coming into our country. And my God, I don't know how many people are falling hook, line, and sinker for it. I am grateful to live in the town of Vanderhook, BC. Yes, the little town in British Columbia, the geographical center of British Columbia, and all that hoopla. And I don't see many immigrants here, but they have risen in my community. There are these people and everything else like that. They are working hard, but there are the people that are here setting up their payment things for a refugee claim. Going back home to India, for example, getting another fake ID from India, and the government of India has warned Canada of this, and Canada is not doing much about it. Remember what I just said there. Canada is not doing much about it. India has stated that there are many people doing this in India. They are trying to crack down on best they can. Would you please cooperate with us so we can help identify more of these people that are trying to scam the system and break laws? A country trying to help another country that's unwilling to help itself. That is what I'm going to describe that problem to you as is right now. Because in this country, you come here and you can just, I wish I had my phone close by. I got a dumb phone anyway, so it's not going to be a very good example, but I could pull out this. This is my iPad. I could go to the app store, so to speak, and I could go to the Canadian border thing or whatever. I could download the Canadian government app, and I can go find the refugee section. And all I have to do to be accepted to be a refugee in Canada once I'm here is click a button on an app. No human interaction, folks. Why is there no human interaction anymore with refugees and our border? Is I heard it in a parliamentary committee. Yes, folks, a parliamentary committee where the CBSA person has stated that we are so busy and backlogged that we've created an app to allow refugees quicker access into our system. Pause there for a moment. Just pause and think. You, if you're living in a bigger city, should notice the demographical changes. I mean, I have never really been to Surrey, BC. I do not know how it changed. I've moved up to this northern part of BC almost 20 years ago, and I can honestly tell you from my time of traveling to PG and living in PG and living in the community close to Prince George, that the demographic has changed so much that I asked my Indigenous friend who lived with my mother-in-law, so to speak, is if he notices the other kind of Indians now more than ever. And his words, folks, were, oh, fuck yeah. His words, not mine. All right? And that is the problem in my mind, because the people that we should be helping the most are the people that are here now. And we are pushing away the ones that are needing help the most for the newcomers. I am serious on this, and it's a shame and all that. I know I'm kind of getting a little bit off the Carney subject, but anyways, folks, it all ties in because Carney has been an advisor to Justin Trudeau for 5 years before he became a member of Parliament. He is also from Europe. Remember, he may be in Edmonton area, born, spent time in the Yukon, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Mark Carney, look within, right? Yes, who cares? Mark Carney. I know I'm getting on a little of a rant here, but he is the most European of European Canadians that are non-European. You know what I mean? He went over to Europe and spent a lot of time over there. He's become so accustomed to their way of life that when he came back here, he still doesn't act Canadian. He pretends he's Canadian. He teamed up with Mike Myers for the Elbows Up campaign, and my God, how are those elbows, my Liberal supporters? Yes, elbows up, and I'm Doug Ford. How's those lips tasting after you kissed that frickin' ass of Mark Carney? Feel betrayed yet? Because we're going to have 50,000 Chinese EVs here. And I'm going to say this about the Chinese EVs. I truly hope they're the Tesla-built ones, because apparently Tesla makes Canadian winterized electric vehicles in China. So let's hope that those are the ones coming here and not the BYD models or anything associated truly with the Chinese Communist Party, because they are hell-bent on wanting to have the world. And they truly are. And by that, folks, I will tell you again, watch China Uncensored. Yes, China Uncensored, China Observer. There are plenty of channels out there that will give you the news on China that is not state-controlled media from China. Yes, yes, yes. And I might have been getting off a little bit of topic here, but let me just bring up my book, and I'm going to have to lift up my glasses. Yes, folks, and a big thing about the EVs. Mark Carney goes over there. We got a little bit of a break with our canola products and a couple other small items of trade. Something like, it's not huge, and then that's only till the end of the year, folks. So it's temporary from China. And we're going to get these vehicles from China, these EVs, to come into our market. The batteries being produced for a lot of these vehicles is a subsidiary, basically, of Brookfield. You can't make that up. Who used to be a part of Brookfield? Mark Carney. Who moved Brookfield out of Canada before he became Prime Minister? Mark Carney. How much did he save in the tax bill by doing that? A few $100 million. And that gets me to my next thing about Mark Carney in Qatar. Excuse me there. My abdomen issues caused me to belch up. It's automatic. It's not something I ate. I only had a banana today, so really shouldn't be belching up. But anyways, irregardless of my little health and my sorry for burping or whatever. But yes, Qatar. He goes there and signs a significant agreement, kind of like China. Oh, we can now travel back and forth, blah, blah, blah. Exchanging cultures, blah, blah, blah. The most quietest, loudest part about his trip to Qatar is that the money management aspect of a Brookfield, being in Qatar, doing their business there with money management and stuff. In Canada, they would have to pay an extra tax, so to speak, for the money that they're making over there. Roundabout way, folks. You're going to have to look it up yourself and all that, but I'm just trying to explain it in a little bit like layman's terms. But basically, whatever Brookfield is kind of doing over in Qatar for their business and handling of our money, which is the pension fund, folks, and a few other things that Carney is playing with, which we should not let him do. That is pension money for people who put in it to have pension money when they retire, not for billionaires and wannabe billionaires to gather it up and try and make money off our money without giving any of it back. Yes, folks, the taxes that they're going to collect, they could collect, I should say, but it pretty much ends now because Carney has eliminated that tax, saving Brookfield money, hand over fist. Now, I know Brookfield shares are, I think, between $70 and $80 at the moment. If I'm going off the top of my head, I could quickly look online, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. But it's going to be a payoff year after year after year. Now, I sent a video to my dad. I sent one to my mom. I hope my dad watched it. And I hope my mom, my mom couldn't watch it. I tried to find the video, but a gentleman has explained how Carney's going to make his money through Brookfields and our government, and it's never, ever going to end. It's going to be a snake eating its own tail, folks. It is. It's a shame, but he is forcing his way into making himself money by basically being a bully and a charlatan. That's the best way to put it, because he's making the rules as he goes, and he's enforcing them so they benefit himself. Sorry about that. Yes, folks, it is crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And, you know, all this talk, everything else, and in the media after the announcement of the trade deal between China and Canada, people ask the American government, Trump especially, this upsets you in any way? Do you think this? And he's like, no, you should be making trade deals with other nations. And Trump is correct in that. I do believe that the people trying to ask him questions were hoping to get a worse response so that they can hammer it home in Canada, right? I don't get the Canadian media. The other day, they're trying to compare the human rights atrocities in China to the United States and saying the United States is worse. I can honestly assure you that is not the case. There are bad things that happen in the United States and human rights issues that happen in the States. I will say, yes, it happens. And folks, what happens in China is a lot different than what happens in the United States. At least the people have a way to push back versus China. You know, in China, they now have AI judges to handle court cases, not a human being anymore, and everything else. They will drag you off the streets and haul you away. Yes, they know we're seeing a lot of that in North America, America. But guess what, folks? If you entered the country illegally, as soon as you crossed that border, you broke the law, no matter how good your intentions are or how ill your intentions are. You broke the law crossing over. That being said, I do believe that there's a lot of good people that are probably being left out of America, shipped away, and all that, but there's a lot of bad people. Rapists, murderers, con artists, you name it. They need to go. And if they're in your country, you would want them gone too. Unlike Canada, the guys that did extortion in Surrey who were charged immediately applied for refugee status. And why are we accepting refugees from India? There's no reason to accept any kind of people from India for any kind of whatever, because it's a democratically elected nation. There is no real atrocities there, so to speak of. You may be Palestinian supporter and may say otherwise, but I digress. South Africa, on the other hand, I would actually say that those white farmers need to come back home, because as strange as this is going to sound to you folks, Starlink is all over the world. Elon Musk's own brainchild satellite constellation to give everybody internet access around the world cannot operate in South Africa because Elon is not black enough and he doesn't have enough black employees in the South African office. There's a whole lot of things, folks, going on in South Africa that if you were to go down that rabbit hole, you pray it don't happen to your country. You will. Trust me, I'm not going to elaborate too much more on that. Yes, folks, and let's go on to, since we're talking about Carney, and let's say Carney was talking about NATO, we will defend Greenland with our other allies in the alliance of NATO, all that regarding Greenland. It's funny how this all works out, right? You know, like Greenland being postured and everything else like that. And I got a really wild story for you. Now, I don't know the truth, the veracity of it, other than the fact that several different people I've read online have discussed this issue. And that is that during the Iranian Revolution thing that's kind of going on, still going on, and you know that the government fought back against the people and all that. Many dead. 2,000 up to 22,000. Can't confirm the numbers. I'm going to say, from everything I've read, I'm thinking between 3,000 to 4,000. That are probably the most accurate, despite the wild claims of 22. It could still be that high. But while that was all going on, and I will say this, somehow Denmark security, gave Iran information that Mossad, Israeli intelligence, was working in that country to start the uprising. Could be true, and I can see it being true. At the same time, you know, I also seen images of these so-called Israeli agents with submachine guns in Iran. Now, I don't know the gun laws of Iran, but I'm pretty sure they're pretty strict. And yes, there was a lot of violence that happened there. I also saw the Iranian National Guard carrying large knives exposed and entering into a facility. Now, what they did, hard to say, but I have heard and confirmed that many have died with their throats slit. Now, espionage, warfare, and everything else like that, it's all awful. But to get back to this NATO thing here, folks, Denmark apparently gave Iran the heads up about Mossad's agents. Israeli found out, and holy smokes, they turn around and grab their big buddy, America, to say, we want Greenland now. Yes, that's why this whole Greenland thing resurfaced again, is because of Denmark giving up security information to Iran regarding Mossad in Iran. That's one of the stories. Now, the other aspect of Greenland is that there are some rich billionaires, and they want to make a AI infrastructure city. One, I believe, is called Freedom City. AI run, self-governed, so to speak. Everything will be powered there by geothermal and all that kind of stuff. Billions upon billions of dollars wanting to be spent there to build this AI infrastructure data center. Greenland is an excellent place to build because of the climate. Keep these hot electronics cooler. Yes, there are also the mineral rights that the Americans may want. And get this, folks, the biggest reason why America would like Greenland is because it would actually help out with their $36 trillion in debt, so to speak, by increasing their GDP so that they can hopefully not go more in debt, but hopefully get out of debt, so to speak. And Greenland and Denmark have a history of atrocious things going on between the two of them. Right up till the early 90s, I could tell you that they were sterilizing people on the island. Hurt the victims and everything else like that. Kind of sad, kind of like what happened in Canada with sterilization of a lot of Indigenous women. Should have never have happened, but it did. Denmark is in play. Denmark and NATO and everything else like that. Now, remember what Carney said about this? We will defend Greenland with NATO. Well, I honestly say, folks, go read your articles of the Constitution of NATO. If one member of NATO attacks another member of NATO, they don't all gang up on the one that's being the aggressor. That's up to each individual country to determine whatever they might do. Now, with the might of the U.S. military and the strength it still has, none of these members in NATO really stand a chance, considering most of the equipment are American-made. That's NATO. Most of the weapons are American. The NATO stuff, mostly American, folks. You know, like France may have some decent jets. Switzerland may have some decent jets. Or Sweden, you know, Finland can have with snipers and all that wonderful stuff. But nobody matches the might of the U.S. military. It's so much so that I had to chuckle when I saw somebody try to claim that NATO has more than the American military. especially the Air Force. The Air Force in the world is like USA Air Force, the Navy Air Force, and then they're they're the top two in the world. There's nobody that comes close at all. And here we are. I mean, I wish I could be funnier and all that kind of stuff, but I wish people would read more. Like, oh my God, Trump wants Greenland. He wants to put casinos there and big resorts. There's a whole lot of stuff to it, folks. Despite what we have for a lot of negativity for Orange Man Bad, really just cut out the clutter and you will hear and see more than you should if you do not pay attention to these 15-second clickbaits that try and enrage you into something. Think about that, folks. Please read more, do more, and everything else. Up to 25 minutes already. Wow. You know, I enjoy doing this. I'm a dude in a house coat. I'm not trying to say I'm 100% correct or right. All I'm saying is I do a bit of reading, and I see the news, and I see what mainstream media is doing, and it's not enough because we got the wool pulled over our eyes. They're like, they don't want us to see anything, only what they tell us, right? It's like the book of 1984. If you haven't read that book, I highly suggest reading that book. Yes, I do, folks, including Animal Farm and a whole host of others and all that wonderful stuff. Yes, and there's also the Golden Dome, the so-called missile defense shield that they want to build around North America. And yes, folks, we need to do this, and we need to take care of ourselves, and we need to be better neighbors with our Americans. Our government and institutions are trying to make Canada break away from America, so to speak, and I can understand some of it, but a lot of it I don't, because they butter our bread hand over fist. And when Trump says they don't need anything from us, he is absolutely correct, you know, and that is a harsh reality. What can we possibly give the Americans now for any kind of trading? Because they just got Venezuela, the world's largest oil reserve, that's very similar to the Northern Alberta, Saskatchewan oil sands, and what are we going to do? Well, you know, one thing I will say is I hope to see no Chinese money coming in to build our infrastructures for resources, because after seeing what has happened to several other countries regarding resources, including Venezuela, folks, Venezuela owed China so much money that they were giving them oil for free. Here's the oil, take the oil, take the oil. So they can pay off their debts, the buildings and infrastructure that China built there, including whatever air defense system China had that did not work for Maduro and his regime. And I highly recommend, folks, highly recommend, it's a slightly different topic, is go find some people online and look up how well that raid for Maduro worked. Wow. Wow and wow and wow is all I can say. Maduro never had a chance. Nobody there had a chance. And we may not even know the full extent of everything that they did. But I will say they were wow. Yes, I mean, the mission, critical, everything else went out without a hitch, basically, folks. Amazing. I am, again, going to say, go look it up. There are plenty of people out there. I wish I could tell you exactly who to check out, because it's been a few days since I watched the episode. I don't save it just off the top of my head. But you can just use the search bar and go, you know, type in Maduro raid breakdown. And you will hopefully come up with a video that will tell you exactly how that raid went by whichever expert that's a military person. I highly advise you to watch somebody who's a military person on this operation. Impressive. I can't get enough of it. There is nowhere in the world that's close to what the Americans can do. And we don't even know the half of it. Just so you know, folks, because everybody's worried about the big paper tiger, and I say it, the big paper tiger in China, they had a one-child policy that have really affected them to keep an effective military. They can't keep people in the military lifelong because it's a one-child policy, and most parents do not want to see their children in the military, because if they lose their child, their bloodline is gone, right? And then the fact of the matter is, since 2020, folks, and it's been proven statistically, China's population is dropping. rapidly. There's less children now than there was with the one-child policy, despite the rising in birth. I know. And how do I know this? Well, people said the enrollment for preschool in China is down. Down. Also, the amount of people that are now coming out of the woodworks who are statisticians and people who are smart and looking at numbers are saying China's population is not what you think it is. It is way lower, almost maybe 2/3 lower than what they're stating. Think on that. Same with India, folks. Think on that. I know I'm over 30 minutes now and I'm yakking away and everything else like that. But the biggest thing I want to say again is please read more. I'm just a dude in a house coat telling you some things that I've read and come across. Carney is not our friend. He is making Brookfield rich. China is really not our friend. The people of China, yes, I can see them being our friends, but the Chinese Communist Party, no. Or the People's Liberation Army as well. These are not good people, folks. If the IMF, I mean not the IMF, if the IDF in Israel is saying no to these Chinese cars because of spying, and the European Union is almost doing the same thing on their important people, you cannot ride in these vehicles because of spying, think on that, folks. They have so many back doors to try and spy on us, and it's amazing. All that and wonderful things. I know I don't think this is one of my better shows, but I will say this. I want to try and make a show, and part of me is procrastination. My mouth, I do feel like I have cotton mouth today, but I also got Bell's palsy, double disc in my neck. Sometimes things just don't work, and I don't talk all that well, but I am working on it. I'm trying to do this, and I want to do more. Again, folks, the scone is lit for people who may be missing a loved one and all that inspiration. Today it's for Shauna, somebody who like I said, the first person I've met in Prince George on my way to chase a girl who I've been with for almost 20 years. And it is kind of nice, and I like it. And it's sad to hear that she may be departing from this world. Also, folks, positive vibes. And if you've never been to an SPCA, please go at least once in your life. You never know. You might make a furball a friend, or you might make a donation and appreciate what these people do to help out with the pets. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in a couple of days.